Welcome to How People Move People, a podcast about the impact that our words, art, stories, and lives have on each other. Each series journey unfolds in a sequence of 6 episodes, and Series 4 is titled Dida Boleje, or as grandmother says. Thanks for being here. Welcome to Dida Boleje, as grandmother says, on the How People Move People podcast, a production of the National Center for Choreography, Akron. I'm Brinda Guha, my pronouns are she and her, and I'm a non-disabled, cisgendered, caste-privileged, queer, South Asian woman with roots in Bengal and the Jersey Shore. Lenape Hoking is the land I occupy today. I make things for a living, and I bring together like-minded folks to make things with me. In this series, choreographers, grief and health workers, musicians, activists, and writers will connect with an artist in the same field but of a different generation. They will have conversations with each other, reflecting on stories of their grandmother figures, mentors, and guides. Folks who may or may not have had the most profound impact on us, but who always seem to stand in the glory of their truth, their hypothesis of what's coming, and their reflection on what was and what could have been. In this shared time, these impactful artists will speak on their processes, their understanding of the times that we're living in, and a moment in their lives when they fundamentally changed their mind. Amar Dida Boleje. Listen to what I'm saying first, then respond. What are your grandmothers telling you now? As a percussive dance maker, I find that the one tangible thing that can connect many cultures all over the world is rhythm. When it comes to children, I think about the first sound we move to feeling recognizable, repeatable, and living inside congruent patterns that we express with our little hips and behinds, an experience that almost seems trustworthy, graspable, and lovable, akin to our connection to the heartbeat in the womb that held us as we grew into our bodies and eventually found the air in which sound carries from body to body and land to land. In many instances, rhythm is also called upon to lead revolutions, to call people into attention, into line, into formation, to embody solidarity, to dissent upon the rigor of various oppressions, and to announce the arrival of a new day. The cyclical nature of our universal rhythms can create a sense of trust and clear communication that awakens action, that lifts bodies and spirits into one purpose, into one love, into one groove, for all who listen and feel to share together, if they so choose. Today, we'll listen in on a conversation between two unbelievably talented humans who every day embody the radical spirit of percussive music and dance. Okai Musik and Frank Malloy have been recreating the heartbeat of our dance floors for decades, and they approach their craft from very different entry points, but share in a community of sound makers who claim the floor as our God and the sky as our call. I know this about these men because I've been in rhythmic conversation and spiritual alliance with both of them through 2 separate contexts. And what their hands can do on the edge of animal skin and nature's surface is nothing short of extraordinary. And they give me and so many others fodder and inspiration to never give up on the dances we need to shift our collective energy into one of profound community impact and change. Okai says, I'm a student of all percussion, all the rhythm from all over the world. What Marcus Garvey tried to do with the red, black, and green with the revolution, that's what I'm trying to do with music. When it comes to the bigger picture, it's all about red, black, and green, and just trying to connect with people from the African diaspora all over the world. Frank says, my intent as a Black man and musician is to elevate the music, space, and those I share my work with. It's a sacred duty owed to my ancestors and parents. With that, welcome to the episode with Okai Musik and Frank Malloy.
Frank, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, nothing much. Another day as a musician. I haven't played with you many times, but I definitely know of you. And I think the first time we crossed paths musically was at Pregonis Theater. I think you were playing with Military with Bombazo Dance Company, and
Yes.
of course, me and my wife have a Rambe dance company. So I know you
Yeah,
got good hands.
you mentioned Harambe and Bombazo, and at first I remember Frank playing, and as I revisited that moment, I was like, I believe you were playing as well.
Yeah,
Were you
yeah,
playing?
yeah,
Yes, you were playing as well, and the vision came, and I was like, no, no, he was playing too.
yeah,
Yes, so
yeah.
we have shared the stage together.
Hmm, hmm.
Yes, yes.
And that was a great moment. Um, just kind of like what we're doing now. I remember uh, meeting new faces, seeing different movement, experiencing that movement in a different way because we hadn't done a performance like that with that style of dance. So even hearing what you were doing musically, it was new to me, not new in terms of just hearing a musician, but new with that creation. And it was definitely a pleasure and honor to have that combination there and create something very great.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that day up or that performance because I mean, shout out to Military and Bombazo Dance Company. She, I've been with Bombazo Dance Company for more than 10 years, and I've played different roles within that company. But that day, she allowed me to really get into my element as far as really diving into the different parts of the African diaspora. Because from what I remember, Cynthia, who was a Peruvian, Afro-Peruvian dancer, she taught me some of the Peruvian rhythms on the cajon. So I was playing a little bit of that segue into the master Peruvian drummers that were there. And knowing Haitian rhythms, of course, I did some Haitian rhythms that I'm familiar with, and I did some Afro Dominicano rhythms for my sister Miriam, and so dancers were teaching me rhythms, putting me on to rhythms. You know what I mean? So I was able to learn and perform these rhythms that that I wasn't so familiar with, but got familiar with them through that performance and that process. And I believe it was my first time seeing Harambe perform. It was my first time seeing the Colombian group perform, which after that day, I started following them, going to their performances, being in jam sessions with them, and the Capoeira group. The Capoeira group is the only group that I haven't seen yet after that day, but I've been doing Capoeira for a very long time, so I was very familiar with what they were doing, their songs, the instruments. So like, yeah, I was in my element that day, and and I'm glad that you helped me revisit that moment, and you were a part of it. You were there, yeah, you were there. You saw it.
And a very small world because in Wata Nubian, who also plays with Military, he used to play with Harambe.
In Wata. Yes, that's my brother, yeah. He's always willing to put you on, teach you about something, whatever. Any question I have about the African diaspora, because he's well versed, you know what I mean? So, Africa, South America, the Americas, that's one of the first people I'll go to.
So how do you migrate uh, all of these musical worlds and all of the people who live in these worlds, in New York?
How do I you know, I I guess it just happens. I, it happens organically. At least I try to let it happen organically. Linking up with people from Colombia or um, Mexico or Panama. It kind of just happens naturally because that is my intent. That's the energy I'm putting into the universe, is to learn as many rhythms as I can and try to absorb it and memorize it. A lot of times, you learn a rhythm. If you don't play it, it's gone until
Yeah,
you
yeah.
revisit it again. And I just find myself traveling to different places, Brazil, or any. I embrace capoeira, and then next thing you know, I'm in Brazil, doing capoeira. So it works. You know what I mean? The universe really works in that way when you really passionate about something, and that's what that's what your goal is, and you know what I mean. That's what your intent is. Then you take one step forward, and the universe or God meets you halfway, and gets you the way you got to go, and allows you to meet who you need to meet.
Yeah.
uh like people like you know what I mean. For real, yeah, man. That's pretty much it.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't bounce around
Okay.
in the most positive way. Sometimes you say bounce around, it implies you're
Hmm.
all over the place and not as focused. But I used to be very focused going from one project to another. And I actually enjoyed it. Now my wife and I are just focused uh, on the dance company. And so playing in the dance company, and that's our number one project, is a blessing and a curse as a musician. Because a lot of what I play, most of what I play, is about the work that the artistic director is kind of creating. So I'm not in these other worlds as much as I would like to be. And it's really created some musical stress because sometimes you get bored of playing the same style, seeing the same faces. Uh, and those are beautiful styles and beautiful faces, but
I
it's the
tell you.
same people. Um,
Hmm.
and I've been challenged. This is the negative part of it is when you're not playing with other folks, you're not hearing the new sounds and the new riffs that people are playing. And as I'm getting older, like I'm 59, and so I'm playing with a lot of young people, and I've had to dig very deep in order to keep up. Gone are the days where, you're just an older person, you're an elder, and people are like, hey, there's a place for you. You really have to have your hands together. I wouldn't say the young folks have an approach of no mercy, but when you sit down with the young drummers, you need to be able to play uh, and hold your own and excel when you need to excel. So I've had to go out of my way to attach myself to specific people, uh, specific situations, so I can hear and learn what people are playing. And obviously, the first person for me who was playing riffs that I was not able to play was, my son. He's an incredible percussionist. And that was when I realized, I'm going to have to go back to school. And it was a strange transition because you're playing something for 20, 25 years, 15 years, and you're doing your thing. You're making good money. People are calling you. You feel wanted. And then I remember doing a show with him, and he played something uh, that I could not even understand what he was playing. And most of the time, I can hear a drummer play a riff, and I'm like, "Oh wow, that's a wicked riff." I'm gonna borrow that riff, and I'm gonna add my own stuff ingredient to it. You get ideas. But what he played, I was like, I can't even borrow that because I don't even understand.
Yeah, you gotta know where the one is at in order to borrow it.
Yeah, it sounded like three people were playing when he played the riff, and I realized that hey, I'm gonna have to get this stuff because this is what they're playing right now, and I'm gonna have to understand it. I'm gonna have to understand not just the riff, but the young folks who are playing these riffs. Because I
Yeah.
don't separate the music and the people who are playing the music. So I've been in school keeping up with the young people for a good 10 years now.
We should never stop learning. I've always thrived on and telling others we are students and teachers at the same time. And that's funny. It sounds like you're becoming more of a student now than than a teacher, man. I totally get it. I'm doing the opposite of what you're doing as far as trying to like stay focused on one thing. If it's an album, or if it's Haitian rhythms, or if it's West African rhythms, right now it's Haitian rhythms and producing. Those are the two things that I've really found myself going hard with, because being of the Haitian diaspora, um, and starting off so late learning the Haitian rhythms, because I've learned most of my hand percussion skills have come from playing the djembe.
Uh-huh.
Now, you know what I mean? I'm going back to congas and playing with two congas, learning the Haitian rhythms, how to put those Haitian rhythms on two different congas instead of one conga. So therefore, I can have like a solid foundation in one genre. You know what I mean? So yeah, that I find myself trying my best to now like focus on one thing instead of being scattered all over. But
Good.
yeah, as far as yes, being a student, man, I am always learning, man. I'm on top of the new hip hop, although sometimes I don't like it, but you know what I mean? At least I'm keeping my ear to the street, because some of it is
Uh-huh.
cool.
Uh-huh.
A lot of it is like, okay, I'm gonna put that away. I don't need to store that one. But a lot of it, I'm like, yes, the Afro beat, the Afro house, the Ama piano, I'm all about it. And one group that I must say that is keeping me on my toes is Souls of Duende. They keep me on my toes, man. Like, I am going from sevens to fives to nines to numbers
Yeah.
that where phrases that there's no numbers. It's just remember the phrase. So yeah, those maybe like two or three things that are like I am focused on, because Sozo Duende is about to get busy. So I'm kind of excited and nervous about the gigs coming up, because it's always a learning experience. It's like Sozo Duende is like going back to percussion university. That's what Soza Duende is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all have a toolbox in our rhythm bag. And when you mentioned Souls of Duende, it's the same thing like, with our dance company and other dance companies that I've worked with, and also other choreographers. You come with that toolbox, but everything in that toolbox doesn't apply to that type of situation. And
Hmm.
I've always felt that if you choose part of the evolution, and it doesn't have to be this way, but part of my evolution was to go from focusing on culture, and that never leaves you, but also focusing on creating new work that comes from a different place, from a different person, a different musical universe. And that's where even being focused, when I talk to the young folks, I'm like, being focused is a skill. I know what you can do with your
It is
hands.
a skill.
You go into someone's rehearsal, they have a requirement, they have a need for your hands. And if you go in and say, hey, I'm from this culture, I know this, and they're like, hey, I'm doing a piece about a rabbit and a hunter. And you realize that you have to pay attention, because I know you've been in classes and I've been in classes, playing, and the dance teacher is up talking about the work and what he wants the dancers to do. And the drummers are in a totally different space. One
Yes.
advantage that I've received from working in a dance company and with all of the choreographers that I work with is that fine tuning, that focus skill allows you to work with many different people. And it also allows you to give what you're supposed to give the way you're supposed to give it to the person who's at the front of the room, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Staying focused is a skill. I agree with you. It's I try to go into every situation with an empty mind. Like, okay, what is it that you are trying to do? What is your intention with this play or performance or whatever it is? What rhythms are you leaning towards and not trying to. I mean, when they allow me to, embellish and put my own onto it, of course I'll do that,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
here for whoever hired me. I'm here for you. Like, and I am trying
Yeah.
to stay focused. I'm not trying to have other conversations going on in my head as you're talking to me, which is a skill. It's hard not to have that voice talking to yourself as someone else is talking to you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, totally agree with you, man. What other aspects of your life are currently finding its way into your practice? What's giving you life right now?
Well, I'm 59.
Hmm.
We've had our dance company for 30 years.
Okay.
So being able to, you don't think about, at least we didn't think about this in the very beginning, what impact are we going to have with this dance company? But to be able to see people uh, who you've helped, who are now adults,
Mm.
to see my son who's 32, he's married, he's got a kid, our daughter's 20, she's into theater, she's dancing now. Uh, just seeing that, we've been on a straight and narrow and we've left a wake in the boat that we've been in, and it's always was important for us to make sure that we leave something positive.
Mm.
What are some of the tough moments you have in all of these worlds? It can't just be all beautiful roses and kittens. What are some of your irritating moments?
What I am not liking about myself right now is conflict of schedule. I don't know
Mhm.
why I can't get my calendar together, man. Like, I enjoy being an entrepreneur or having.
That's a good problem to have, though.
Yo, it's a good problem, but I I don't like disappointing people.
Hmm.
When I'm saying yes to something, you know what I mean? Like, yo, bro, check your calendar and make sure you can say that yes. You know what I mean? I'm always just like, sounds good. Yeah, then let's do that. Da, da, da. Forget to put it on my calendar, say yes to something else on the same day, same time. Next thing you know, I'm disappointing somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to get diligent about being an independent artist, having my own business. It's
I'm going to interrupt. Is it a disappointment for your landlord?
it's not this.
I think most of us do this not just for the money, but I mean, most of the people that I know in New York, I mean, they're in 3, 4, 5, 6 different projects at any one time,
That is
and everybody's rehearsing.
yeah.
So that's another skill that I think was specific to New York that I had to learn was the ability to learn material quickly. Someone gives you 5 dates to rehearse, you know, and you only can make 3 of those dates. So uh, those are the 3 dates that you have to master
5 days
the
of work.
material. Yeah, yeah, and it goes back to that word we were talking about earlier, being focused. Is when you are super focused, you can go in and disappoint for those 2 days. And I'm gonna use your word. You can disappoint for those 2 days that you're not in that rehearsal. But the other 3 days, you got to bring
You
everything
bring it
you've
on.
got.
No, yeah, 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 dude. I hear you, and it's funny because every it always that brings me back to Souls of Duende, man. Because man, I don't think I've missed any rehearsals, but if I do, yo, you better believe I am whatever videos they put in the chat, I'm trying to catch up on it. I'm like, I have these videos on loop, you know what I mean, trying to catch up because it you can easily get lost in the sauce if you are not focused and disciplined about your
Yeah.
craft.
Hmm.
Especially me that's juggling so many different things. I block out everything else. And I like to do that with it with other dance ensembles as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I'm there, I am there. Uh, Even sometimes when I'm not there, I'm there. Because
Hmm.
if you're whatever rehearsal was recorded, if you put it up on a chat or Google whatever doc, I am trying to review that. And that's like, of course, that's just professionalism, you know what I mean, all around. It's just to be prepared when you're there. And when
Yeah.
you're not prepared, be honest about it so that they can catch you up. Don't be like, yeah, don't front on it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm
Hmm.
good, I'm
Hmm.
good. And next thing you know, you messing up. You know what I mean? Nah, don't front. Don't front on it. You know? But yeah, like, juggling, multitasking, you know what I mean? This new era of multitasking and staying on top of your calendar, your schedule,
Yes.
and is a battle for me. You know what I mean? Like staying on top of my expenses, income every month is a new thing for me this year. It's my
Hmm.
first year staying on top of
Yeah.
month to
Yeah.
month
Yeah. Yeah.
transactions. I'm always
Hmm.
waiting for the end of the year. You know what I mean? Which is like that's not cool because you don't know how much you
The
spent.
tax man cometh.
Yo, you don't know how much you spent on gas. You know what I mean? You might have spent too much on this. You might as well
Hmm.
spend too much on eating out this week. And you need to be on top of it so you can save better, so you can, you know what I mean? Whatever you're, if I have goals of saving for whatever it is, something big, then these expenses and income things come into play. And I just got to get better of just being an entrepreneur and taking care of my business, man. That's
Yeah.
that's that's the challenge for me right now. As far
Hmm.
as staying
Hmm.
creative and staying focused, I think I've gotten pretty good with that. When I'm there, I'm there. I'll give you my 100%. At least
Great. Great.
even if I have any problems, issues at home or whatever, when I'm there, I'm there. You got me.
You push through. Yeah.
I'm listening to Brother Okai and Frank speak of rhythm and stress and meeting the job where it's at, and I can't help but consider the process of music making in our percussive trio, Souls of Duende. Souls of Duende is our all-female, multicultural percussive dance and music trio, rooted in the rhythms of tap, flamenco, and katak, and headlined by my dear sisters, Amanda Castro, Ariel Rosales, and myself. Granddaughters of Celia Rosales Gomez, Yolanda Vega, Eneida Gonzalez, and Carmen Castro. These ladies are something else. What they hear and what they say with their feet is nothing short of extraordinary. And their music allows me to find my deepest, most important ideas in this work. Even though we made our Joyce Theater debut this year, had some great press, graced the cover of Dance Magazine, got a touring manager, and now we're planning to travel, 7 cities this year. Flex. The accolades for our group's work is affirming, but the process remains complex and a constant negotiation. No one sees that part. Do you know how hard it is to hold down a 7-beat rhythm and dance in a 5 while somebody else holds down a 4 count? Listen. And on top of that, we're also dancing with our whole bodies. The visual music we make with our bodies adds to the experience of understanding the complex histories of our dance forms. Everything we make is a constant arbitration. Are we allowed to break the patterns in this way? What elder gave us the permission to explore this idea and take it out of context? I'd even ask, when did the nomadic bards of North India who traveled when their conditions changed intersect with the African Americans on the plantations who had their drums taken away by the slave codes? Add on top of that our individual identities as Boricuas, Mexican Jewish, and Bengali women, holding these ideas in our vessels and seeking the permission from our own communities to make these huge decisions in the first place. The truth is, liberation comes in different forms. And I often find that until we give ourselves permission to explore our intersectional pasts, no one else is going to feel inclined to. Like Frank said, what younger drummers can do these days is mind blowing. And it inspired him to get to work and prepare himself to have intergenerational and musical conversations with his contemporaries. But not without negotiation, not without hard work, not without the reminder that simple ideas work too, and to pass that knowledge of patience and sustenance to younger musicians. Also, Souls of Duende works with Brother Okai often in our performance work, and being in rhythmic conversation with him on the floor while listening to what decisions he has to weigh right here in this conversation is more fodder for creativity and an affirmation that we are all on this journey to figure out how we're going to make this music, okay? There is a lot to talk about. Let's return to the conversation with Frank and Okai.
I didn't know my dad's parents. I've never met them. I've never even seen a picture of what they look like. I am disconnected to my grandparents on my father's side. Father was
Mhm.
very closed. Whatever he went through in Haiti to get here and his life story, he really didn't share that much. I tried, I mean, before he passed away, I tried, you know what I mean? And I asked his cousins who are still alive about my dad and what he went through in Haiti. But every time I asked him, he was just like, man, it was hard. It was hard. I guess maybe it was a little easier because he was light skinned, tall, handsome guy, was able to maneuver in Haiti and get himself to the States. But I've never he has a sibling who I've never met, so I've never met that uncle, and I've never met his parents. My dad's dad went to Cuba, and when I went to Cuba, tried to find him, or at least trace down the last name to see if I had some family in Cuba, but nothing as of yet. I'm still on that search. Grandmother, nothing. Uh, I did have a short relationship with my mom's grandmother. I never met my grandfather on my mom's side, but I did meet my grandmother. And one thing that she really wanted to see before she passed away, she's like, before I die, in Creole, in Haitian Creole, she's like, before I die, I want to see you get married and I want you to treat her good, and that's all she wanted. She didn't get to see me get married, but I believe it was like maybe a year after she passed away, a year or two after she passed away, I got married, and I shouted her out. She's on my altar, and I'm like, Grandma, you see, I got married, and like I'm doing my best as a husband,
Mhm.
as a dad. So I feel like she's always like looking at me like, yes, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, do your thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing it. But that was the only like little message or life lesson that I got from one of my grandparents out of four. I had a relationship with one of them at least. I thank God for that. But yeah, how are you? How's your relationship with your grandparents, Frank?
I never met my grandmother.
Mm,
Uh, she was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian.
wow.
Indian, uh, and my grandfather. I never met him as well, but he was Frank Walter Malloy Senior. My father was Junior. I'm the third, and Frank is the fourth.
Oh,
Uh, I've always felt so connected to my grandmother, even though I never met her, because my father would talk about her all the time. She was paralyzed from the waist down, and her name was Maggie by the Wood. Uh, but the English people changed her name to Maggie Blythewood, but it's actually Maggie by the Wood. And my father had remarried, and he named my half sister after my grandmother. So I felt the connection, and my father would talk about her. Uh, I mean, she's paralyzed from the waist down, but he talked about her like she was superhuman. human. And
Mm.
that was something that I always feel like she's here. You know, it's almost like reading about, you know, a comic book character. You've never met that person, but you see all of the good work that they've done. You know, it's like, you know, there's my father, there's my uncle, there's my aunt. You know, now on my mother's side, I knew my grandfather very well because he built the church uh, that I used to go to
Okay, pastor.
when I was a.
Was he a pastor or he just into construction? Or?
No, he built the church, his church, and he was a pastor of that
Oh,
church.
wow.
And you know, I don't go to church anymore, but you know, that's where I went to church, uh, and my mother actually still goes to that church. That's why she won't move from Moncks Corner, South Carolina, because her
Wow.
father and everybody was there. And I did meet that grandmother, but she passed when I was a little kid. You know, so all of those folks uh, are very important. You know, I have their names. My father did the family tree. I have their names. I know all of the children, but my father and mother really, my father passed away, but they were my rock. I would have to say I've leaned on them a lot, particularly my mother, even going into the Peace Corps, just about everything that I've ever attempted. My mother has been a cheerleader for me. You know, she's always said, go for it. She's never told me that there's something that I can't do, I can't accomplish. And so, even the world that we live in, she knows how angry that I used to be. And she's just the opposite because she had to be the opposite, just keep her head down
Hmm.
in order to survive, you know. And so, that's still, it's almost like that's in her DNA. Sometimes I'll say something that by today's standard would just be a light criticism, but she'll see it as some grand, uh, a grand statement. And I have to talk to her about it. And I said, you know, but I really appreciate her point of view and how she lives in the world. I see the trauma there, but I also see the wisdom and I see the strength, just like my other grandmother, the ability to just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm a product of that as well as my other three sisters. So I'm grateful for all of them. So how do you migrate the the world of cultural dance, where knowing that rhythm, knowing that movement is kind of crucial. Not a choreographer who's just creating, you know, something different, but you go into a space and people are saying, "Hey, this is a Haitian rhythm. This is how it is. This is how the movement of the dance is."
I I think that part comes with experience, dealing with those situations more than once, and possibly failing at it more than one time, and then you learn. Like if you when you go into a situation and it's like, yo, this is West African, and you got to do it this way. Do you know what I mean? Like, just stick to your part. You know what I mean? Don't embellish. This is the part that we need you to play, and this is and being okay with that.
Uh
Holding
huh.
that one rhythm. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That holding that one rhythm might be boring, might be it might be easy, but that's what you're here to do. So you do it, and that's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you want to like the person next to you might be flaring, and you're like, "Oh snap! I want to get a little something too." But no, no, that's not. That's not what you're here for.
Yeah.
That takes a little time. It takes a little time. But Soza Duende allows me to get a little bit. You know, they have different structures. They a lot of times they come in with or choreography. They'd be like, yo, this is what we want. This is what we need. You know, we want you to mark this spot when we do this more arm movement or this leg movement. But sometimes it's like, yo, this is the part where we just need you to whatever, however way you want to interpret that part, go ahead. And I'm like, okay, I got three instruments here. How am I going to, you know what I mean, accent whatever they're doing? But yeah, those are the two different worlds. I am still trying to master skill, practicing the paradiddles and all that stuff. But my next level is how, yes, I am, as a percussionist, musicians, we are healing people when we play. How can we do that intentionally? Like, on purpose. Like if
Yeah.
somebody has a broken leg, like, and I go play for that broken leg to get that blood flowing through that leg, how can I, you know what I mean? Like, how can I do that for real, for real? And so that's
Hmm.
the level.
Hmm.
I've only read maybe one or two books on how drums have, the healing powers. We've known this for hundreds and hundreds of years. Shamans and community leaders have been doing this for hundreds of years. But now in the past 10, I would say 15, 20 years, scientists are proving it and they're
Yeah.
showing, you know what I mean? How drums, listening to drums and playing the drum is
Hmm.
is healing. This is how I'm contributing towards people, towards these social causes, towards my people who like where the health is a big thing.
Art for art's sake was a motto in our home for a long time. I think previous generations had a certain liberty with that saying. I struggle with it, if I'm honest. Artists have always been an important prong of the activism tool, with their purpose being to expand the human imagination and process the emotionality of a particular moment in history. I know that dance and music has always played a pivotal role in social justice, so hearing art for art's sake sort of felt like a cop out to me. Like dance about a flower because a flower is beautiful when people are dying and we need to organize, when we should be telling stories of the unheard. How do we do these things in good consciousness? And yet, roll with me here. If if the powers that don't let us sow the earth, treat the soil, plant the seeds, and enjoy our flowers, then dancing about a flower could actually serve its intended purpose to remind us of our humanity. See, there's a reason my didu, or maternal grandmother, loved her bedroom facing the garden, and my tama, or paternal grandmother, sat on the balcony overlooking her garden to read every evening. There's a reason why my father in law, Richard, would come home from work and go straight to his garden every day, tending to his lilacs and his peonies. There's a reason why people surround themselves with the flowers they do have to get through their days. And there's certainly a reason people want flowers around them in their death. And so, if we danced about one once in a while, would it be so bad? Another negotiation, another decision to make in our art making, I suppose. And I guess we need all of it, right? War dances and flower dances, marching music and free music, collective rhythm and layered rhythm. It all matters. Didu and Tama, I hope you're reading your books by the garden. I hope you've met Richard by now, who also loves reading by his garden. I know you three would really hit it off up there. In the meantime, your granddaughter and daughter will keep dancing with fire and earth beneath us and have more conversations about what we should dance about next.
So let me ask you this though. How are you migrating these times? Now you may see it as rosy times, or you may see it as difficult times. I mean, you just share that with me. It's like with Trump, George Floyd, even what's going on in with Israel and Gaza. How do you plug your musicianship? And this is if you do that. How do you plug that
Mhm.
into all of the things that are happening in the world? Or do you just block it out and say, music is my escape and I'm good that way?
Well, what I've been doing to show my solidarity, I am showing solidarity with Rafah, Palestine. And the way I do that is through social media. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had time to hit the streets as far as the protest and all that stuff at the colleges.
Hmm.
But I commend those students. I will say that out loud. I've said it on radio stations, whatever interviews. You know what I mean? Keep going with that revolutionary young spirit, students. Keep doing it, man, because a lot of us don't have time to do it, or you know what I mean. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, if I can say something or do something to inspire you guys to keep doing what y'all doing, do it.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
social media, I am if I'll do like I'll do a drum video with my Palestinian scarf. You'll see captions. You know what I mean? Sending my love to the people of Palestine, because it's not only going on in Palestine, it's going on in the Congo, it's going on in Sudan, Haiti, my backyard. I'm experiencing it firsthand with so much of the Haitian diaspora leaving Haiti, coming
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
I'm dealing with it at home. You know what I mean? And so all of that said, I am trying to show solidarity with the movement that is going on, and I use my artistry, my drumming. Like I'll play a rhythm and dedicate that rhythm to the people of Palestine, the people who have passed away in Palestine. So that's how I try to contribute. If and I do hope to join my peoples during a march, because I usually do. You know what I mean? If I'm available,
Uh-huh.
I'll bring
Hmm.
my drum out there. If somebody invites me that I know, I'm out. You know what I mean? Hitting the streets, chanting, playing, donating my time that way. Another major thing for me right now is health. You know what I mean? A lot of black and brown men, we don't we take it seriously now, but we come from a generation that was just
Yeah,
work,
it's
work,
not.
work,
Yeah,
work, 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 save money,
yeah,
build
yeah.
for your family, you know what I mean? Build for the
Hmm.
family, don't
Yeah.
whatever about the health. But now health is a big
Hmm.
concern. Now that we have a little leisure, you know what I mean, to think about our health, and we don't have to work so hard. I mean, we still got to work hard, but that meant that the health and the mental health is a, is more important than anything else.
I found that migrating the social issues and all of this stuff, from even my mother, father, and even me, my son,
Hmm.
our daughter who's 20. It's challenging, because even having a dance company, sometimes you want to rehearse, but something has happened in the world that is upsetting to a lot of your company members. And it is very difficult to just dive right into the music and dance. I mean, you've put out money for a rehearsal space, and you end up talking and trying to process, all these emotions and feelings and trauma, that people are experiencing. And I think it's important, at least for me, to be a musician who can play, who can handle the nuts and bolts of the instrument or the project, but also to have something to say musically about the world that's happening, in real time, to create work about it. My wife's the artistic director, and sometimes she'll make a complete left turn in the work based on what's happening in the world, and then we're working on something new. Uh, in addition, I think it's important to share with people who are coming into uh, at least my universe and similar universes, uh, that sometimes, this is just my feeling, sometimes the nuts and bolts of the music and the movement is just not enough. Sometimes you have to understand and know the people who are playing that music. You have to understand the mindset
of the people who are playing that music, particularly folks who are not people of color, white people or whatever. You know, they come into a community, they give their heart and soul to the project, they respect the culture. And there's a good feeling. You know, you were talking about sometimes you're feeling so good you lose focus a little bit, and then you're making a left turn, and sometimes the lead drummer has to bring you back to reality. But I think it's very important to have honest conversation with folks who are not dealing with the difficulties that people of color face. Uh, that it's just not fun times all of the times. You know, it's not just experiencing a culture, an exotic culture, and saying that's cute. You know, I really like that. But also getting to know the people who are playing the music. You know, our dance company, we do a lot of private performances at private schools, and I get a call from a principal or some PTA person, and they'll say, "Hey, you know what? We'd like your company to come to this school." They really need to know the culture. They need to be exposed to the culture. So when I hear that somebody's using a 30-minute performance or a 1 hour performance as a way to expose their kids, uh, I have to decide how much do I want to talk about this issue? You know, the principal just wants me to come in and just have fun and have the kids, just leave there excited, and they are excited. Uh, Sometimes I feel I'm not being honest with certain topics,
Mm.
and it's the right balance. You know, you have to perform. You want to be compensated fairly, but it's not a circus. It's not just people showing up in costumes and somebody saying, "Hey, you know what? We have fulfilled our cultural obligation for this year. We're good." Uh, so I think there has to be honest discussion. I do more of it now, not the angry way that my father used to do, and not the angry way that I used to do. You know, a while ago, and I used to be very angry. But I have to get those conversations in somehow. You know, you just can't just show up and have fun and call it a day. Just get your little money and move on. You know.
Yeah.
So how do you migrate that?
Man, that's a hard one. I must say sometimes I will conform to what they are paying me for. This example, you want a Haitian drummer and a Haitian singer to come in and sing some folk songs, but don't mention voodoo. Don't say anything. Where it's like, you know what I mean? Like that's what bugs me with Haitians. They'll claim the revolution. They'll claim, yo, we first Black Republic, da, 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 da.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they won't claim like the process of how it happened,
Hmm.
which voodoo was like is it's a part of the fabric, the root of how it happened.
Yeah,
So
but that's a scary story.
it's a scary story, but
Yeah,
like the colonial mindset, Christianity, all that. You know what I mean? It's like how are we gonna claim this but not claim that? How you want me to do traditional drumming where and it stems from this but not talk about that? It's like, and and I find myself like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to I'm just going to drum and sing, you know what I mean? Have her sing
yeah,
one or two songs and just be out. Where really, you know what I mean? Like you want to tell them about, you want to have the, it maybe not on stage, but back in backstage, you want to have that conversation. Like,
yeah.
guys, you know what I mean? Like this is what it really is. You know what I mean? Like we can't claim this part and not claim that part. We can't say you love the country and love the culture, the dance, where a lot of that stuff is rooted in the voodoo culture. We
Hmm.
the voodoo culture has been able to preserve a lot of the African culture that all these African nations that came over, we've been able to, you know what I mean, to hold on to some of that. That's a beautiful thing, within voodoo. Like, let's talk about this. This is a beautiful thing. They don't want it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, nah, man, this is
Yeah.
a Christian church, but we still want some drumming and listen to songs. You're like, you know what I mean? So that's, I find myself doing both. You know what I mean? Sometimes I do talk about voodoo, and I tell them, like, every spiritual belief in the world, it depends on the person who is using it. There are bad Christians, there are good Christians, there are good Catholics, there are bad
Yeah.
Catholics, there are bad voodoo practitioners, there are good voodoo. You know what I mean? And I'll give them examples, and a lot of times they'll be like, "Yeah, I get it." You know what I mean? Like, because those Catholic, we can give bad examples about the Catholic Church easy. You know what I mean? That's a no brainer. But yeah, it's hard navigating that world in the Haitian world specifically because of voodoo and the way a lot of Haitians see that spiritual belief. You know what I mean? But it's getting much better.
Hmm.
I must say it's better now than ever before, but it's a hard thing to navigate. Two questions. Have you been asked to play outside of the West African world, and if you have, how do you navigate that? Because you're rooted into the West African, but you're still a percussionist. So therefore, if they ask you to play congas or something else, you will be able to do that, but it's in a different world, it's a different culture. How does that work for you?
I've never considered myself rooted in West African percussion.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, Even our dance company, uh, it's a black dance company.
Hmm.
That's what I tell people. Now, we can do work from West Africa, but we've had the belief, and we're driven by this belief that we're black folks who are playing these instruments and moving our bodies the way we're moving our bodies. So for me, our dance company and those drums and everything that we're doing is a revolutionary act.
Mm.
And I'm going to explain. I'm going to go back to my college years. Um, I actually joined the Peace Corps right out of college. And I went over to live in Ghana, West Africa, for 2.5 years.
Mm.
That's how I even really got hooked on West African music and dance. And the funny part of this story is that um, that journey was actually an escape for me. Uh, when I was going, I was not interested in West African music and dance. I just didn't want to go into what I was describing back then as corporate slavery. So my senior year, I had 2 internships, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm not ready to get a traditional job. And I saw a commercial for the Peace Corps, and it says, "Hey, the toughest job you'll ever love." And I was like, boom, that's it.
That's it.
That will be the move I can make where nobody would call me a bum. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, you wasted your college education." People saw that as an honorable thing. And I found everything uh, that I'm doing right now uh, while I was in the Peace Corps in West Africa. And when you think of running away from something and actually finding what it is you're supposed to do, I was like, wow, this is an incredible journey. And prior to that, I'm just going to share. I've always been somewhat angry uh, at how the world operates. When I was younger, and even now, I have a more comprehensive understanding of why things operate. But in the beginning, it was just raw dislike of the treatment of black folks, specifically my mother and father. My father was a World War II veteran. He came back from the war. He couldn't get a cup of coffee in a diner. He passed when he was 81. My mother, she's 88 now. And, all of the stuff that she went through has been passed on to me. I've experienced these things in a different way. But the anger and resentment came about because, parents talk about their experiences while you're growing up, And this is something I'm embarrassed to say, but I've shared this with people. My father actually used the word cracker so much. And I grew up in South Carolina, and then we moved to New York. We were in New York for a good 27 years. But my father used the word cracker so much when I was younger. I did not know that was a bad word. I thought it was just a happy word. It was always, hey, these crackers, hey, blah, And when I found out it was, I see you smiling there, but when I found out that it was a bad word, I was like, oh my God, this is I really saw how angry and resentful he was, having spent almost a third of his life, and my mother the same, as a second-class citizen. So when I went to Ghana, I went with that mindset that I'm getting away from the stuff here. I found my calling there, and even when I came back, I was like, I want to create something that nobody can take from me. I want to create an entity that is ours, that I could share with our people. And that's why I say it's a revolutionary act. Now, I'm not anti-cultural work if someone says, hey, this rhythm is from Guinea, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it. But my whole life is based here. My experiences is based here. So there is no African that can really teach me about the Black experience here, And, I don't have the anger that I used to have. That's one of the things I had to transition away from. And the gift of being a musician is that I was able to work with so many other people from all over the world. And then I realized that, you can have the most deepest relationships with individuals, and everything doesn't have to be deep all the time. I don't have to be a warrior, from morning until night, that I can have beautiful moments with other folks. I'm just going to throw this in. I remember during the pandemic, and you remember this as well. It was almost like somebody counted down from 3, 2, 1, everything stops. And so, within a matter of days, I realized that my whole life has been conversations about dance and music, responding to performers and drummers, the good, the bad, and the ugly, doing performances, showing up to rehearsals, canceling rehearsals, doing extra rehearsals. And to not have that just overnight, I was actually lost, close to a deep depression, because I was like, no one's calling. There's no conversation about anything. There's no gigs to be booked. Who am I? Who am I when the music stops and the dance stops? And I was like, this is who I am. So I had to really realize that I've got to add some other things to my world. That so much time and energy had gone over here. And when it was all gone, I was there just kind of empty, And now, my wife and I, we've been able to add different routines. We see the flowers differently. We see the relationships differently. So we have to spend a lot of time filling up the other cup.
And to think, these two never really talked to each other before this moment. What a gift to be a fly on this wall. If you listen closely, you might be able to hear what their grandmothers are saying now.
Dida Boleje, a happy wife is a happy life.
Dida Balaje, just do whatever it is you want to do.
How People Move People is brought to you by the National Center of Choreography at the University of Akron, or NCC Akron. This podcast is produced by Jennifer Edwards, associate production by Lisa Niedermeyer, and editing by James Sleeman. How People Move People theme music by Ellis Rovin, and As Grandmother Says, theme music by Rupa Mahadevan. Transcription is by Arushi Singh, and cover art is by Micah Kraus. A profound thanks to this episode's incredible duo, Okai Musik and Frank Malloy, for their generosity of spirit in this conversation. To be invited into their world of music and culture and to meet their queen grandmother figures is so important to me, and I hope for you too. Gratitude to Anjali Roy Chaudhary and Bani Guho, my grandmothers. And a huge thank you to the cohort of creatives I brought together that held me accountable in this curatorial vision, including Eva Yassantwa, Farah Yasmin Sheikh, Barka Patel, Sydney Mosley, Stacey Webster, Candace Thompson-Zachary, and Christy Bolenbroek. Special thanks to the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation for their continued support of NCC Akron programming. To learn more about NCC Akron, please visit us online at nccakron.org and follow us on Instagram or Facebook at NCCAKRON. We hope you enjoyed this episode and encourage you to subscribe on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms by searching for How People Move People. Dida Boleje, free every person in the world fighting their oppressors and listening closely for their grandmothers too.